So this is Stevens Mc8. It's back in for some just routine maintenance on it. One of the things we noticed with it is that the air dryer is not purging. So we're going to go through and take a look at the air dryer and see if we can figure out what's wrong with the air system on it. He did have it serviced a little while ago, and he also had his engine rebuilt, and they put a new engine in the bus. So we got to figure out why it's not purging. But they're AD-2 air dryer. They're pretty common. Some places are looking for crazy prices for them now, but we're just going to go through and redo it, put a new desiccant filter in it, a new purge valve, but make sure we figure out why it's not working. One thing on this trip, his granddaughter Sarah sent him with a flat Stanley on his adventure. So flat Stanley drove down with him in the bus, went to a family wedding that they went to before they got here. And then he helped me and Jonathan work on the bus, got familiar with the 8V71, even got him down in the pit. He's checking tires, all kinds of stuff. So it was kind of fun to have Flat Stanley down here with us. But let's get to this air dryer. So we took down the bottom of the air dryer here, and look how nasty it is. It's just filled with water and grease, and everything's just corroded. Obviously, it's not been purging, and it's been collecting moisture. And he lives in Minnesota, so having a working air dryer up north is very, very important. So not only to keep the moisture out of the system, but so the air brakes don't freeze and everything too. But even the desiccant filter that he recently had put in there is just trash because it's not been purging. So it's just been sitting in that rusty water.
2.5 ohm.
So that's testing the heating element in here.
I'm trying to get my fingers where you can see better. There you go. And that little heating element goes from here, wraps around this little loop, and then grounds internally. They weld it into the casting.
Huh. Yeah, that stops it from freezing. The water discharge will freeze on there, and then it can't eject the water because it turns to ice on there. And it'll split the metal on there too.
Yep.
So testing the thermostat in the freezer here now.
So this should be closed. And it is.
Okay.
And then we'll just let it slowly warm up, and it should go open. There it is. Went open.
So it works.
Yep.
So we just have the broken wire in there.
Yep. And it appears that it shorted.
Yeah, it touched that and shorted out.
Yep.
I was walking out to the bus and going, I can't solder that.
So yeah, that wire would get too hot. It would melt the solder back off of it. So
melt the solder right back off.
So he's crimping on a wire connector on both ends of the...
Yep. And I cut off the excess insulation.
Yes.
On each end of it. Then the other piece that was spot welded on there, I took off because it just basically fell off. And then I put that right over that end.
And you could get your crimper in that tight little area, luckily.
Yep. Put more pressure on. There.
Pull on it.
Oh,
That's good.
Yeah, you can. Hang on.
All right, I'm going to carry these out here for you, sir. So you don't have a complete...
A little air in it.
No liquid there.
So his air governor here is not hooked up correctly. There's no air line that goes to it, then that connects to the bus that goes up to the air dryer. So the air dryer's never been able to purge since he had the engine rebuilt. They put a transplant rebuilt engine in here, and they didn't hook it up right. So there's an empty fitting up there on the bulkhead. You can't see it, but it's way up in there. And we're going to connect an air line from that to here, and that we did confirm if we blow air through that empty bulkhead fitting, the air dryer purges now. So it's never been able to purge since he had the engine swapped over, and they just plumbed it all wrong when they did that on the governor. When it pops off at 120 or around there, depending on what it's set at on the governor, stuck open. Oh, there it goes. Well, it did purge, but the purge valve stayed stuck open for a lot longer than it should. It's definitely staying open a lot longer than it should. The purge valve, if it stays open like that, it'll drain off all your air and you'll be stuck. So we gotta figure out, is it the purge valve that's sticking because it's all that gook in the system would be my guess, but it could be something else like the governor or the air compressor unloader valve's not working right.
Step on your brake one time. That stopped it when you did that.
It just purged right before we shut it off. It's like, how can it have water in it already? You see any gook on? Oh yeah, there's all kinds of gook on it already.
I mean, the white stuff is the
grease,
silicone grease,
yeah.
but
So this airline on his bus, instead of capping it off, they just folded it over so it was kinked and then used electrical tape on it. And that's how they blocked off the airline. I'm sure it was leaking. I never sprayed soap on the end of it to test.
we didn't, but
I suppose in a pinch, which may be what it was, but that's how stuff happens on, it gets you home, but then you forget about it and it stays
Yep.
on there for 30 years.
yep.
I can't believe that it even didn't come undone all the way. Dang it, there's a lot of moisture in the system and I can't believe that's still staying open. Something not right.
Have him pump the brakes once.
We have a few other air leaks in the system that we're working on too. These unloader valves and the compressor are real sticky. We sprayed some lube in there to try and free things up a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be working. They're still not moving as smooth as they should. We're going to replace them, put new unloader valves in there, and see what we can do. Yeah, they seem to be really slow to respond here. If you watch, that should be like an instant bam. It should go down and close, and it thinks about closing, and just slowly goes down and seals off. So it shouldn't be like that. All right, these are brand new valves, O-rings, everything's new in there. We'll see how it goes. Well, we replaced the unloader valve in there and it's still hanging up. You can see the one side's kind of sticking open and it's not closing all the way. And the little bit of oil in there, that's because we sprayed some lube in there trying to lube up the old one to get it freed up, but it's been sticking open and closed. It's not right on there. So we need to go through and kind of figure out what's in the, if we can clean out those little bores inside the compressor or whatever, and kind of go from there. Yeah, I don't know why that unloader is doing that. We could replace the compressor. That would definitely solve the problem there. It's not the governor. We replaced the governor on it. Still did it with the old governor and the new governor. If anybody has any ideas, feel free to shout them out. I'm not really sure why it's hanging up like that. But the fact that it hadn't been purging, it's obviously been doing the unloading, or the compressor would build pressure all the time. So the unloader has been working, but it's just so much moisture and crap in the system maybe. I'm not really sure.
smoke rising up the holler through the trees. And from a mile away you can hear them play as they climb that hill with ease. At the top of that mountain there's a new life waiting for those who can make the run. They can make it to the top, Scott will put them in the shop till their new life has begun. Bus Grease Mountain, where the buses come to run. Bus Grease Mountain, we're gonna get that big job done.